Education is one of the integral pillars of OKB Hope Foundation. We believe that the right kind and timely dissemination of knowledge is power, which is why we developed the Xperience Ghana program.
Yeah, I think for the same reason, definitely. I think for the same reasons that I said earlier, I think any opportunity where you can put into practice what you know or learn something about another culture helps and also help at the same time is a great opportunity. You're learning to be a global citizen. You're learning to be aware and of other cultures and what other people are facing. You could come up with some of the brightest ideas in America, but will it land in another country? You don't know. And so kind of having that experience of knowing what another country, what another country's systems work like in a certain space that you're interested in, is a good way to just be more knowledgeable and be a global citizen and work towards, bettering the world as a whole, as opposed to this specific bubble that you're a part of. I have one. I'm just kidding. I think between the times where we would just like come back to the place that we were staying at and unwind and play games and just get to know each other as a group, I thought that was really fun. Like, I learned different types of card games that I never thought I would be very competitive with, and just had a lot of fun just getting to know other people who are part of the foundation. And so that was a lot of fun. But I think the other, I guess I maybe I'm not having a favorite memory by being indecisive and having to, but my other favorite piece of it was going to the Cape Coast Castle, just because you hear about slavery through American schooling system, and it's you always hear about like from the lens of when they arrived or the Atlantic trade, but when you go there and you see the castle, like it's such a beautiful place to be, just because you see like where it is and you see the water, you see the coast, like it's such a beautiful like beach area. But when you're in a place that has so much terrible traumatic history, it just puts so much weight and thought on your mind of like, wow, this is really the door of no return, where people saw their last time being in Africa, in Ghana specifically. And it was a really hard pill to swallow, just experiencing that. And you could feel kind of like the sadness on your, like in your mind and your heart. And you're like, I didn't want to take any pictures when I was there because I just didn't feel comfortable doing that. But I thought it was a really beautiful moment.
Yeah, so the biggest difference, at least that I think I noticed pretty early on, was the access, and it was kind of part of the reason why we were doing health screenings to begin with. So from my experiences in the US, most areas aren't that far away from hospitals, and the waiting time isn't really that long. But here, I remember as we arrived, there would be a lot of people stationed outside of the hospital, and many of them had to travel a pretty far distance to get there. So I think the access to, just because there weren't a lot of hospitals in the area. So I think the access to the healthcare to begin with was a big difference. I think welcoming and respectful, very kind. Those are probably the biggest takeaways that I got from everyone. Definitely whenever we were invited to a family dinner, it really felt like we were a part of a family. And again, that was something that I wasn't expecting at first, and it took me a bit to warm up to, just because it was a little, I was unexpected. It was caught me off guard a bit, but I think, yeah, after the first couple of days, it really felt like I was at essentially like another home, which I thought was great.
Wow.
I would probably use maybe insightful and exciting. Yeah. It was something that I had never done before. So it was interesting to put myself out there and kind of see what healthcare was like and what healthcare was like in other areas. And I think insightful is something else I would describe with, because I learned a lot about not only the health services there and the health services that we provided, but also a lot about myself. I learned some new strengths and weaknesses that I had, and it helped me develop my career further in my junior and senior year.
So when we were in Kumasi, we would wake up early because, as you know, doctors are always on the clock. So as soon as you got to the hospital, even though it was 6 a.m. when we got there, people had already been there overnight and were still working. But basically, we spent from about 6 a.m. until noon or 1 in the hospital. And we were all separated into smaller groups so that we could each, throughout the days, learn about each sector in the emergency room. So we would get to see the triage, and then we would get to see the different locations in the emergency center, whether it was the more serious locations of the emergency room or the less severe. And we were able to learn through all of that. And depending on the location where we were in, we got to speak directly with the physicians, go on rounds with the physicians to see what patients were actually in those sectors at that time. That was really amazing. And then for 2 of the days, I was actually able to even go into the OR. And that honestly was the best experience I've ever had, and the highlight of the whole trip for me, just because when I tell you we were in the room, I was not even 5 feet away from where the operation was happening. And the physician, he was actually an American physician who goes throughout his summers. He's now retired in the US, but he goes out throughout his summers and he does basically a global brigade. And he fell in love with Ghana. So he actually comes every summer to that hospital to do orthopedic surgeries that he specialized in. And so he told us about his experience, and he told us about his background in medicine and how he got there and why really he came to Ghana. And it was just so great to hear from his perspective, because it could be something that we one day would do too. But just seeing that so close and personal, and we could ask questions about what was happening, it was just like something that you would never experience in the US because of certain limitations and guidelines. But once we were done from 6 a.m. till about noonish, we would then go eat, and every day the food was amazing. And another thing to note is that the food was very reasonably priced. You could eat a lot of food and you would be fine in terms of how much you were paying. And then in the afternoons, depending on what the schedule was, we actually got to do a lot of more sightseeing. So we got to experience a lot of the history of Ghana, and we got to go to places like the slave castles later on. We got to go to the arms museum. We got to go to the zoo in Kumasi. We even got to go to the area where kente cloth is made. And that was really great too, because we got to see people weaving actual kente cloth in person, and we got to learn the background about all of it and how royalty really used it to express their wealth and their culture. And it was just a great thing to see. So they were long days for sure, but they were jam-packed with so much when you got to have that medical experience, but then you also got to see a lot about what Ghana really is about.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was coming in from an engineering background, but I also was a pre-med. And so I did think that I wanted to go into medicine, but I didn't know how it would really well align with engineering. But like after I saw how creative these physicians were and how they were using problem solving throughout their entire day. It really showed how strong my engineering perspective could really be as an advantage in medicine. And I think the whole experience overall really solidified me that I wanted to continue in medicine and that I wanted to be part of like the progress of medicine, not just in the United States, but globally. So it definitely solidified the fact that I wanted to be a physician. But because I was coming from this engineering background, I really realized that in order to have a full impact, we want to make sure that we're creating therapeutics that are fully accessible, and that in order to do that, you need to have people who are in that benchtop and in the actual experimental design process that are taking into account the people who will get these therapeutics in the future. And because of that, I am determined to become a physician scientist. And so that's what I'm going to be doing next. I'll be starting a medical scientist training program this August. Basically, throughout 8 years, I'll be getting an MD and a PhD, and it'll be fully funded by the National Institutes of Health. So I think that through this and by having both of the degrees, I'll be able to really be part of both sides of the benchtop and the bedside, and really keep in mind who the end goal is. And that's the patients, not only the patients who can afford it, but the patients who really need the access to these treatments. So being that middleman for the two, I really want to make sure that we have the ability to create these therapeutics that are low cost, highly accessible, and highly specific to patients. And I think I will be able to do that. And hopefully, who knows, one day I'll be able to go back to Ghana and put that into action. Oh, I would 100% recommend this opportunity. And I really hope that anyone who hears about it really gives a good thought in terms of taking part in it. And honestly, like, if you put your mind to it, you'll be able to find financial resources. There's a lot of outlets at Cornell that will help you finance service opportunities. Like I mentioned, if you're in Cornell tradition, you can get funding that way. If you're in other fellowships as well, but then there's also specific scholarships through specific departments that if you're interested in service and doing one of these things throughout one of your breaks, you can get financed for it. And I know for me, that was something that was really important because I didn't have the money to do so. So I would 100% not let that become an obstacle for anyone. And instead, they really should take advantage of this opportunity because it's honestly a once in a lifetime.
So during my round, there were only 3 of us, and I was the first one to arrive. And so I stayed at a small like hostel hotel for like the first week with you and Justice. And that was pretty nice. It was basically like a regular hotel. I had all the amenities I needed: internet, water, a shower, all these things, bedding. Nothing out of the ordinary that I couldn't find in the US. And the food, the first thing I ate there, I'm pretty sure was chicken and jollof. And if my memory serves me right, I think the word for chicken and tree was akoko.
Akoko, yeah, you're right. You remember?
That was the first word I learned. So yeah, and that was like good. That was really good. And so jollof, I would say would be my favorite food. To the point that I made it like probably like a month or 2 ago. Didn't turn out as good.
Really?
But yeah. I really thought it was just like putting rice in a pot and like adding tomato sauce. But no, it's a whole process. And,
you should have invited me for the recipe there.
Oh really? Okay. I'll
next time.
So yeah, that was my favorite food. Least favorite food, gotta say, was fufu.
Wow.
I don't know. It was something about it. I just didn't like it. But yeah, jollof, banku I didn't like either, but it was kind of like but all the stews I had, like those stews, the chicken stew, all was good. And there was also like American restaurants there too. So it's like it's not like I didn't have the opportunity to step back a bit from Ghanaian food. But yeah, pretty good. There was not a lot of candy. in Ghana, and I like sweet things. I remember we went to a store one time, and there were like cookies that were not sweet and like crackers, and I was like, there are no Starburst. Yeah, I think I was like very welcome. Like, I don't think at any point I felt like I wasn't wanted. Everybody was always welcoming, always had a smile on their face. The people, I think Ghanaians are very like welcoming and like also humble. I feel like every sentence ended with a Madasi or Madasi Pa.
Madasi Pa. Wow, you remember all the
I remember everything. Yeah, I learned a lot. I feel like I learned more than I would at the same like age and experience level in the US. So I was in, I think, 3 different departments of the hospital when I was there. I was in the plastering like center where they did the casting. I was in the ER, and I was in the operating room. Oh, and I remember I went to the pediatric wing, but I didn't work there. I just like visited. In each one of those like departments, I learned something. On like the plastering, I got a chance to like actually help one of the nurses put on like a cast, which is different than the cast that I've seen in the US or that I had on myself in the past. It was actually like the wrap that you like harden, which is interesting. And I also got to like observe the nurse as he like dealt with patients who had casts and had to get them removed or like had broken bones that might need casts. But the most like interesting part of like the casting experience is when a little child came in with like a broken bone or something like that. And I thought I was only going to be observing them like handling the injury. But then the nurse told me to like hold the child's leg with like this like restraint to keep it like taut while they pull the other side of him to like align the leg. And the child is screaming, and I'm just sitting there like, I don't know if I'm contributing to like abuse or what. But no. It was for the child's like own good, you know. But that's the first time I think I was like actually like active in somebody's healthcare in my life, which was like both fulfilling and a little scary, you know. And then I was in the emergency wing as well. And I think 5 minutes after I went there, like a dude came in after he fell off his bicycle, and there was like a big wound on his head. And the doctor was just like, okay, you can help me like irrigate it, just like put the water, like clean him. And I was like, no, I don't know if I can do that. He was like, it's fine. He was like right next to me, helped me the whole way through, whatever. And then the dude who was injured, he was like awake, didn't feel much or anything, you know. So that was also surprising. So another chance I got to help somebody and be active in the healthcare. And then lastly, I was like physically in the operating room, which was like amazing. I saw a hip replacement. I think I saw 2 hip replacements. Yeah, and then I saw a foot surgery. And what was interesting about being in the operating room, and it just struck me out of nowhere. I was in there, and everybody was Black, you know. And I was like, wow, you know, everybody over here looking like me. But it was also a little like jarring because they thought that I was a medical student, and they're asking me questions. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, they knew that was just like shadowing, so it wasn't a big problem. I just stayed out of the way. But yeah, pretty fun. Yeah, the health screening, I feel like it was when I really got involved in like the community, because when we did the screening, we were at like community centers, like a church, you know, and religion was like a big part of the culture there. And so after like participating in like the service, we would do like the screening after, or do the participate in the service, and the next day with the screening, you know, get involved with the community and not just go there to like test, you know, things like that. Which is like pretty fun. And yeah, so the screening, I did, what did I do? Oh yeah, I remember taking like height, weight, like BMI, all these like basic metrics. And and then also like not triaging, just like sorting people like where they should go next. And yeah, so that was fun. I got to observe like the nurses that came and helped people with the actually like drawing blood and taking glucose and things like that. And yeah, I just saw like a wide range of people, and then afterwards I could like actually look at the data and see like trends and things like that, and then write a report and then present it later. So I feel like it was a very like start to finish type of process, and I got to be a part of every step of the way, which is interesting. And I got to talk to people, like and be actually involved in them being more knowledgeable about health in general and their healthcare and then help their communities and how they could like become healthier, and lifestyle changes. So yeah. Yeah, a lot actually, and I'm pretty sure I can't remember everything. But I remember. Okay, the first thing I remember was we went to like on the safari, which is pretty fun. And I remember we got. I think one of my favorite memories is like seeing the elephants when they're in the water, which is like fun. Then we did a lot of shopping, like I said, and so one of the churches that we like pitched the screening service to, we went to like one of the like fun nights. I don't know how to call it, like they had like night fun, whatever. Had dancing, food, things like that. That was like pretty fun. I don't know, like talking to people like my age from Ghana, and like I don't know, it was like I don't know, felt young. Yeah, I think it reassured that I wanted to go into healthcare in the future, because I could actually like be involved, like I said, in people's healthcare directly, in a way that I probably could not have in the US, especially at the time. I was still in college. I couldn't like get a job or anything or go through certain certifications because of school. Because of this like 6-week short program, I could put all of my efforts and energy into like being involved there. And I think that was like worth it. You should definitely pack some sunscreen, regardless of the shade, and lotion. It was very dry and gusty as well. What else? I feel like you could, if you can pack what you would usually pack if you go to like a different state or something like that. I don't think there's like anything that I needed that I couldn't find. I didn't have with me. Oh, well, I guess like besides like a charger adapter, the outlet. Probably want to bring that. Because I don't think I did not bring one. And then one of you guys had to get one for me. And what probably want, I guess, like make sure your phone plan includes like out of country charges. I don't know. Yeah, but yeah, even that, I mean, there was Wi-Fi where I needed Wi-Fi. Like I was able to video chat my family while I was there. Yeah, I say don't bring a lot so you can actually like interact with people, and like go explore and not be bound by things you brought. Granted, I'm also very cheap, so I did not bring a lot. So that was like a blessing. So yeah. I think there'll be family. So family, learning, and Madasi. Family learning and Madasi. Like the family is because like I felt like even like from the moment I got there and I went to the hostel, and then we went to get food while I was at the hostel not too long after, and I sat down like the long table, a lot of people there. Like from the start, I felt very like welcomed, very like a part of what was happening. Even when people were speaking Tree to me, and then they figured out that I like learning languages, it was like they helped me, like taught me some of the basics that I was able to employ like soon thereafter, which was like fun. And then the second one was like learning, it goes along with it, like learning a different language, learning about different people and different culture, learning more about healthcare, just learning every single day, there wasn't a point where I wasn't learning something new. And the Madasi, I feel like that's the word that I would say the most, the non-English word that I would say the most, and the one that resonated with what I was doing there. Thank you to Foundation for like making the program. Thank you to the people that allowed us to screen them. Thank you to like the doctors and the hospitals that allowed us shadowing them. The people that taught me like Tree and other things, and like I guess thanks to Ghana for like allowing us to come all these things.
Well, it wasn't too much money. That was the key. If it had been a great deal more, I probably wouldn't have been able to. Now, the Cornell Tradition Fellowship will pay for one service trip, but I ended up not doing that. I had just savings that I'd put aside over many years. And I remember learning from one of my courses, I'm an HD student. We learn about a lot about the human mind. I remember learning that one of the greatest possible things for your life that you can spend money on is an experience over anything else, over materials, which you'll quickly get used to having. And so I decided to take right out of my savings for it, that I think I gained up through the Army beforehand while I was still in the Army. And that's how I paid for it. But again, it wasn't much. And that was the key, so it was well worth the plane ride out and everything like that. Gratitude towards you specifically. I stepped off the plane and I realized, remember, the only time I'd been out of the country before was on deployment. And in that case, you step out of the plane, you have a platoon around you of people, you've got a commanding officer who tells you where to go. In this case, I stepped off the plane and I was just in an airport. And I was looking around and I was like, what do I do? Who do I tell? And immediately within 5 minutes, you called and said, hey, you just got off the plane, right? I'm right here. Like you were like 30 feet away from me. And then you got us a car, got me a car and got us to the room we were staying in before we went elsewhere. So it was immediately gratitude towards you was the very first thought that I had. The very first thing that came into my head is that you were very, very good at keeping absolute track of everybody and where they were and what was going on and getting us all to a good location and making sure we, weren't alone in a new place. And so I had a lot of gratitude. And it wasn't just me. You were really good at organizing and handling everybody around there. You had, I want to say it was 3 or 4 friends with you who by the way, I greatly miss them as well as you. They were some of the kindest people ever and also just as good at logistics as you are. Very good at helping out. So that was my first thing was gratitude in a sense of like excitement. I met new friends immediately, in our room there, the temporary room that we were staying in. So that was my first thought about it. Yeah, absolutely. So obviously that first night we spent in a hotel room and I want to say it was Accra on the first night. And so we went out to our accommodations out in Kumasi and it was great. It was this really beautiful hotel. I got my own room. And it was really nice. The people, the staff, they were very kind. That was an overwhelming feature I noticed in Ghana was the kindness of people. And each morning we would get up and we'd have breakfast. And I just recently managed to find the name of the drink that we would have in breakfast. Instead of coffee or tea, we would have Milo. A cup of Milo. And I loved it. I thought it was the coolest. I mean, it was the best. It woke you up and it had I had protein, so it was a part of the breakfast. And I just recently, days ago, managed to find again the name of that. So yeah, we had Milo. Sometimes we had, I think it was butter bread and boiled eggs, and it was really, really great. We'd have this breakfast, and we'd all sit down and get ready with our plans for the day and what we're gonna do today. So that was and it was very nice. My bed was very nice. There was air conditioning. It was great. Yes, I do. It was the fufu. I remember you. I remember you took us out for a lunch at great spots every day. You were very, it was very big on finding us new and cool things. And I love trying new foods. So I picked one at random, the fufu, and I can't. It might have been. It was some type of small mammal that I used for the additional meat to add to the fufu and dip in the stew, and it was delicious and it was incredible. So I think that was my favorite meal. I mean, obviously, but for future students who might want to watch, it was this big bowl of stew, and then there was the actual the sections of meat, and then it was almost like a dough, and you take a piece of the meat in the dough and you dip it, and it was just beautiful. It was so good. It was one of my favorite memories of that whole experience. Yes. So we would, as I said, we'd wake up and have breakfast. And then we would go to the Anokia Komfo Teaching Hospital. I'm not sure if I've...
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we'd go to the hospital, and each day we would switch to different sections. So the OR, the triage room, the ER, and we would switch in sections around there, volunteering or shadowing. And then we would, mid or late morning, we'd go out and have lunch. As I said, you'd take us to some great spot. I mean, I still love that we did that. I remember seeing these huge fruit bats every day when we did that, these big, beautiful fruit bats. And so we go to lunch, come back and spend more time at the hospital. And I think we shifted to different sections in between after the morning shift to the afternoon. We would hop again. So that gave us a lot of different exposure to surgeons, ER docs, triage nurses, a whole bunch of different things, all within one day each day. And then after after the hospital, you would organize to take us on a trip somewhere, which was culturally focused. And oh my God, those trips! I don't know how you picked so well. If somebody came to the United States who had never been, I couldn't have picked as good spots in the United States that many. I could not have picked that. It was incredible. You took us to the zoo once where we saw the zebras and the ostriches and all the animals there. On another day, you took us at some point to Cape Castle, which was an incredible experience. That I still think of that. I still look at my old photos of that. It was just amazing and a beautiful scenery and incredibly deep because of its history. And so then after that, we would go to dinner, and it varied a couple times, but I think most often we would go to that house, somebody's house, and there'd be a big dinner table laid out with local foods. Who was it?
Oh, it's Auntie Sewa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't I could never understand how you managed to set that up. It was absolutely incredible. There's many local, beautiful foods. We'd all sit around on the couches and talk about our day and what our favorite parts were and eat the food. And then usually we would head back to the hotel, I think, after that. Yeah, absolutely. So since Ghana, I've visited more countries, and I visited a few countries before that. I during deployment spent time in Europe and Kuwait and Iraq, and then after that, back to Europe. Actually, this last summer I sailed on a ship, and so I got a bunch more exposure to the countries. And I remember to this day, the absolute thing that stands out about Ghana is strength and kindness. Those are the two overwhelming things that I see over and over again. The strength of the people is incredible there. I mean, it's a constant public works thing for each other. Everybody there are big signs everywhere telling you how to drive safely, how to stay healthy, how to help each other out. There are, the medical providers would work long and hard hours, trying really hard to look out for people. And there were people camped out right outside the hospital who you had told me had traveled many days to stay there, to just wait it out for their loved ones to get out. So that was a strength. And the kindness was also unparalleled in any nation I've been to. The kindness of strangers in Ghana is amazing. I I've never seen anything like it. Everybody is so kind and so, accommodating and polite and easy to laugh and easy to make you laugh, So that was a big two things that I remember about Ghanaian culture was the strength and kindness. Oh yeah, absolutely. It was incredible. The providers there were very knowledgeable. They were quick and very knowledgeable. They were expert. And so it was a mix of learning and helping. I got to perform CPR on 2 different patients within the first, I think, 2 days. I got to watch and semi-assist in it, like a bunch of small little operations, a bunch of small little surgical procedures. We even got to go in and directly observe the knee surgery and orthopedic surgery from an orthopedic surgeon in there, which was also amazing. It was just a plethora of information. Watching the triage nurses, I spent time in the triage room. Their team works like an oiled machine, the way they all work so well together and so quickly. Nobody would stay in the triage room for more than a few minutes, and they would show us. They would direct us to charts on the wall as they're doing it. So as they're, handling this incredible amount of work, they're also teaching us and other people, because it's a teaching hospital. Yeah. I got to watch them teach other future providers too. And they would teach incredibly well while also doing an excellent job with patient care. Well, first, it's the only other country that I've been to in my life that I insist upon returning one day. I have to, and I want to spend more time there next time. I've been to a lot of beautiful places, but this is the one place that calls me back. I need to go back to Kumasi one day. And I gotta return with, hopefully with you one day. Maybe I'll go on another trip with you again. And also, it made me double down on public health. I always had loved public health. I was introduced to it when I saw refugees. And this just sort of, it lit a fire under me. It made me push harder for a career in the field. So I think that's how it influenced me, a big way that it influenced me in the future. That is a tough question. That's a tough question. There were a lot of them. There was a lot of laughter and a lot of fun times. And I mean, I can give you one of my favorites. I loved too many memories. One of my favorites was when you got us that guide who took us way out into the plains. And we went out into the plains, and first we saw gazelle, on our way going out there. We saw tons of gazelle everywhere. But also we got to this big rock, a big flat rock, and there were big ovals or circles that were dug into it. And the guide explained to us how it was early humans from many thousands of years ago who had dug it in, who had pressed the rocks around. That was beautiful. And then we climbed all the way up to the top, and you could see for hundreds of miles around. I mean, it's so far, and we all took photos up there. And then later, after that, eventually, I think that was the same day, we went back and went to Cape Coast.
Yeah, Cape Coast.
I think it was Cape Coast. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we went to that restaurant, and it was just this big sprawling, like street below us, and lights and music, and we all, ate there, and it was just, I think that was probably up there, at least in the top 3 most amazing moments of the whole thing. It was an incredible day, and incredible moments. Well, first, my advice would be to anybody considering volunteering, which is do it. Pull the trigger. Reach out. Get your passport. It's not too difficult. All the logistical parts of this aren't crazy hard. I would say do it, and I would say trust that OCI knows what he's doing and is really good at setting the whole thing up. It's a once in a lifetime experience. Absolutely. And it'll change the way you view everything. So that would be my first, is actually to do it. And for people who are already going, try the newest food you can that you've never tried anything similar to, and you won't regret it. And Triwe, let's think. I would say it was memorable. I mean, very, very memorable. It was God. It was just fun. I know it's a cliche word, but I can't think of it. It was just so fun. You know, everything about it. Even the little things like the cats outside the hotel who would walk around in groups, you know, just these really cool, or the big fruit bats that would fly in crowds over, you know, like it was fun looking at those things with people. And also pride inducing. It made me feel really good to help screen the patients on that day when we screened, you know, several hundred local citizens. That made me feel really proud. It was a long day. It was hard work and it was fun, and it caused, you know, it made me feel a lot of pride. And then finally, just the memories. Sometimes it feels like it was a dream, you know, walking along the edge of the castle with the cannons pointed out to sea and looking at the Atlantic Ocean from the other side of the Atlantic Ocean from what I usually see it. You know, it's just, so a lot of incredible memories.
It's our vision to impart the right kind of education in the lives of our future leaders. Thank you.